welcome to my channel for tonight's Apostate interviews. I'm sure you've heard of her, at the very least. I'd be kind of surprised if you hadn't, especially considering the fact that I recently was in a live stream with her talking about kinky consent, and then did a collaboration with her on my channel where we talked about consent a little more, because it's a topic that bears repeating ad nauseum, because some people just don't seem to get it. But tonight I am talking to the one and only Silver Layna. How are you doing tonight, Silver?
Hi, I'm good. I am doing good. What's up, peeps? PP.
Awesome.
Did I just say PP?
You have. You tried out a few different variations of it, but
this is already getting interesting.
I think we all know where your brain's at. It's okay.
Look, just for the record, no, I don't say PP and wee. I say penis and vagina, okay? Call them their
so you can actually be an adult and use the clinical words.
Exactly. Vulva.
There it is.
Call things by their name. Anyway, I can't. That's like a big pet peeve of mine. I can't stand when people fucking call it my wee. I'm like, how old are you? Are you 42 or 2? Like,
see, I'm really fortunate in that I don't know any adult men that refer to it as anything other than. Well, no, most of them are childish and they say their dick.
My space rocket, my thruster, my.
Let's face it, they're usually nothing like either of those.
It's very true.
Most people are just average in size. They need to come to terms with it. There's nothing wrong with having a penis. I mean,
look, in all fairness, like for the men of the world that are concerned about the size of your member, let me assure you, first of all, the average woman is only like 5 inches deep. So you're good. I promise. Because, like, if you ask a very well-endowed man his experiences, typically they're not all that great, because most of the people he bangs, he can't get it all the way in. Because, women don't actually like it when you hit our cervix. Well, some women do. That is a thing. But
would
the majority of us, it's kind of like, ow.
That's not a feeling I can sympathize with, because it's never happened. But
I've definitely had someone hit my cervix. A lot of someone's, and I'm just like, ow. That hurt.
I don't know if everyone watching can tell, but this is probably going to be a little bit more of a grown-up stream.
Every time anyone invites me anywhere, things tend to get a little naughty.
Risque.
My friend calls me deceptive. She says I look deceptively sweet. And then once I open my mouth, I'm just a total trash bucket. So, yeah.
Oh, hell. But, all right, yeah. So what I like to do is start and end all my interviews the same way. I like to have the interviewee talk about themselves and their channel a little bit. So could you talk about yourself and your channel a little bit?
Sure. So Silver Layna is the name of my channel. Surprise! It's so original. I know. Anyway, but yeah, Silver Layna is the name of my channel. I've only been actually active on YouTube for about a month, maybe 2, in terms of like actual some type of consistency. But yeah, I will be discussing a whole array of different subject matters, including my personal favorite, psychology and philosophy. But right now, I am focusing a lot of attention on BDSM and kink, and will continue to do so because that is also a huge part of my channel. So yeah, and we actually have a new episode of Kinky Conversations, which is the stream that you joined me for, on consent. That was episode number 1 in the series that I've started. So episode number 2 will be coming out this Sunday, and we're all taking the BDSM test and going to be talking about our results. So it'll be a little fun and at the same time educational, because we're going to have to explain what everything means to people. So
yeah. So
and in addition to that, I actually will be. I got some feedback from some of the reviews that I've done. I do reviews on floggers and paddles and kinky toys. But some people wanted a demonstration, and I'm like, I can't do that on YouTube. So, but it actually is something that I wanted to do ever since I got my very first flogger. Well, the first one I reviewed anyway on YouTube. So I actually had a plan for this already, which is going to be on Patreon. My Patreon is not public yet, but yeah, down the road, that is something that I will be doing. I'm currently still recording some stuff. I kind of want a backlog, so to speak, of like, shit that's there, so that when people pop up, they're like, oh, cool content. So.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, YouTube is kind of, how shall I put this? Looking for a diplomatic way to state this.
They're very restrictive. Yeah. Boring is they are very restrictive in their practices, which is weird because it's just like, how do people like PewDiePie and I'm not even gonna say the other dude's name, but the person that is like the biggest predator ever and takes advantage of fans. Like, how do these people have such a huge following and they're allowed to do the craziest shit that if I did it or if you did it, our channels would be deleted overnight? No question.
It's all about the size of the channel.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
And how much money they bring in.
Yeah, and that's actually what I like about Patreon so much, is the fact that you actually, unlike YouTube, you actually do have the freedom to create. Like, you have so much more freedom there than you have on YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your former religious beliefs. What religion did you used to be part of?
Interesting question. So, okay, a little bit of weird worlds. I went to a Catholic school from pre-K to 7th grade, and I every Sunday I went to a Southern Baptist church.
Okay.
So that was the foundation for like my religious upbringing, and then my brother converted to Islam whenever I was about 9 or 10, which led me to start reading the Quran because I was really sick and tired of hearing he's going to hell. So anyway, yeah, and then by the time I was 13, I refused to go to church anymore. I was like, nope, I'm done. And I converted to paganism. And then I reconverted to paganism when I turned 18 because I figured, being 13 and a minor, like, it didn't count. I was just like, I was goth. I still am goth. Look at me. Anyway, but so yeah, I reconverted. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I did the ceremony again, and I stayed pagan for shit my entire adult life, basically. I didn't really necessarily believe everything. It was more of just kind of like that one little thread, just, hanging on for dear life. Like, well, surely there must be something. Like, even if God isn't like a God that's involved in our everyday lives, like, still a God nonetheless. Like, there's still something spiritual or an afterlife or something. Especially like because I've had a lot of death in my life. So yeah. And then finally I was just like, you know what? It's just not a thing. It's just not a thing. Like, I just need to get the fuck over it. It's not a thing.
See, now I'm curious about the Catholic school, but going to a Southern Baptist church thing, because
I was the only Protestant at my school.
yeah, that's really interesting. Because where I live, when I was a teenager and I was big into being Catholic, the Catholics and the Baptists didn't really get along at all.
Yeah, I got a lot of flack for it. Weird enough though, like, so the kids, well, it depends on who the kid was, but like a lot of the kids were the ones that would like make fun of me. The teachers would hold me up as an example. Like, it was so weird. I was always brought in front of the class to like stand there, and they're like, she's Protestant and she did better than all of you. You should be ashamed. This isn't even her faith and she has straight A's. And I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this to me? Because, like, in my religion class, I did really well. I always had straight A's. So, yeah. I actually do like world religion. Like, I used to study world religion. So, you know. But it was interesting. I don't know. I guess my parents thought that, a private education would be better. And it was. In, like, in terms of the actual education part, it was better. Going to public school was definitely like a culture shock just because like I very quickly realized that the in public school the advanced placement books were my regular textbooks in private school.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well,
So I was in advanced placement everything just because I was already 2 years ahead of everybody, like in terms of what they were learning. So
wow.
yeah.
Ooh. I thought I was smart.
Well, no, that's just the way our school did it. Like, we just like moved a lot faster than the public school, apparently.
All right. Um, so, like, were there any parts of the Catholic Church that you kind of believed in, despite being Southern Baptist, or?
Um, I'm trying to think. Not really. I mean, I don't really know if I ever believed any of what I was taught. I always I was always the kid that was getting in trouble for asking too many questions. So yeah, I was that kid. Like the fact that, they depict Adam and Eve as having belly buttons, and I'm just like, if they're made from a golem spell, I'm just saying, it's a golem spell. Anyway, if they're made, then why they wouldn't have belly buttons because they wouldn't have mothers. So, and like the whole like Noah's Ark thing, like that's just bullshit. Come on now.
Oh yeah, that's more of a Protestant thing, though. The biblical literalism, more than the Catholic Church, anyway.
True. True. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what would be like the craziest thing that you believed from being Southern Baptist?
Oh shit. The craziest thing? I didn't believe a lot. So I'm gonna say in terms of the craziest, I did at one point legitimately believe that you got pregnant by like laying next to someone before marriage. Like not sex, just laying next to them in bed.
Well,
Because
I
that's
mean,
how it was phrased. Like that's that's the phraseology they use.
it's hypothetically possible if you know
Yeah, if they come like
around
right in
you.
your pants and then like it stays fresh and they got strong swimmers, in theory, it could happen.
Now, if you're just laying there, not
Right.
coming to fruition, shall we say? Um, yeah, you're not gonna get pregnant. But oh god, that's funny.
Yeah. I was really young though, like super young when I believed that. Because I found out what sex was when I was 6. And I was the kid that was like telling everyone else what sex was. And my parents got a lot of phone calls growing up.
Oh,
I'm like, I'm educating. What?
not the kind of education parents want you to give, I guess.
My father was very proud.
That's good.
He even told me so.
So what got you to start questioning the Christianity part? We'll come to the paganism soon enough. Just what got you to start questioning that?
I mean, I can't remember a time where I didn't question. I always questioned. Like even when I was 4, I was just like, oh, what does this mean? Like, what do you mean? I don't understand. And the more I guess honestly it was them. Like the more hostility that my questions got met with, the more they tried to shut down me asking questions. It just it didn't make those questions go away. It just made them stronger. And I'm definitely one of those people that, well, back then anyway, like when I was a kid, I was definitely, I could argue with a brick wall for real. So the more that like it got denied or just like put to the side, the more I'm like, I must be right. Like if you can't answer, I must be right. And so it just like grew and grew into more serious subject matters as I got older.
Hmm. All right. So I'll rephrase it a little bit and ask what it is that got you to like fully realize, okay, this is all just bullshit. I'm done asking questions. They've deflected or refused to answer enough times. It's just bullshit. What is it that finally got you there?
um I think the belief that I did a paper about the Holocaust, and I was really proud of this paper. And time and time, this wasn't new. I'd heard it before, but I don't know. There was just something for whatever reason that was different about this time. I was hearing from my own family that um, it's a shame. And I'm thinking they're talking about, the Holocaust. It's a shame, right?
Mm-hmm.
No. They follow that statement up with all those Jews in hell. And I went from enraged to crying. And I'm just like, how, what? Like, how could you possibly say that? I'm like, number one, that's bullshit. And number two, if you actually do believe in the Bible, as you claim, the Jews are literally God's chosen people. So, what? Like, why would he damn them to hell? I'm so confused right now. So, that, along with people constantly telling me I lost a brother to suicide when I was very young, and people constantly telling me that he was in hell. Um, I was just like, if that's true, then number one, I don't believe it's true. But number two, even if it is, why would I want to worship that God? Like, your God sounds like a prick. Your God is a cunt. I don't want your God. Like, fuck your God. Probably those two
Yeah.
things.
I mean, how old were you when they were telling you your brother was in hell?
Oh shit. That happened pretty much immediately. So 7, 6 or 7.
They were telling a 6 or 7 year old
Yeah.
that your brother, who I'm sure you loved, was suffering an endless eternity of pain and sorrow and like the most excruciating, not fun version of torture you can imagine. How is that not child abuse?
Right. I know.
I mean, seriously. Oh, yeah, your brother is in eternal torment.
Yep.
Fuck you, dude.
Yeah. I remember specifically one of the I'm trying to remember, was he a deacon? What the hell was he? I don't know. One of the higher up officials at church actually had made a comment to me along the lines of, it's a shame people like that, people that do what your brother did, they think it's going to end their suffering, when in reality all it does is cement that their suffering will be eternal. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? What did you say?
Yeah. That's something that didn't sit well with me when I was a Christian, actually, but that came from an entirely different place. Mine was the whole there is no judge but God and no one knows where anyone goes after they die besides God.
Yeah,
So, I mean, first of all, they're being biblically incorrect when they state that someone is in hell.
exactly. Well,
But
because there is no hell. There's a reason Jews don't believe in it.
yeah, like the worst that Jews have is Sheol, but that was actually just, well, no, Gehenna was a fire pit. Sheol was like just sort of this mediocre. I don't know if you've ever watched The Good Place, but
Yes, yes.
yeah. So you've probably
Kind of
seen
like limbo.
where they go to the medium place.
Yeah.
Yeah, Shale is like the medium place. you know, you still get to watch movies, but you can only watch this one shitty movie. But yeah, no, the whole concept of saying, "Oh, well, this loved one of yours is burning in eternal." Nope,
Hmm.
nope, that's just fucked
And
up on a really level.
I always correct them, and I'm like, you do realize that hell literally came from the fire pit. Like,
Yeah, Gehenna.
they, like, in Jesus's time, it was a real thing. It was just a burning pile of trash, which is what that word means. Like, in literal translation, burning trash. Anyway, and they would torment and scare the Jews with it, because they would also use it as a mass grave, and they would, throw Jews onto this burning pile of trash. So, yeah, they were afraid of it. Of course they were afraid of it, but it wasn't an afterlife. It was a real thing burning over there, where they're like, oh shit, nope, stay away from it.
Yeah,
I mean, it was never meant to be, a place where your soul went.
gotta love how you gotta love how the early Christian churches just took that idea and ran with it.
Oh yeah, I blame Constantine for a lot of this shit. Like, that motherfucker. If I was a necromancer and I could raise his ass from the dead, I would raise it just to kick it.
Uh, that movie got some pretty good reviews, and it's mediocre. Not Keanu Reeves' best work, you know. Oh wait, you're talking about a Roman emperor.
Sure.
And there's my dad joke for the day. The real punchline is that I'm not a dad. Don't want to be. All right. So what got you into?
You're not already.
What's that?
I said, how do you know you're not already?
I've been pretty careful.
Oh, okay.
And on the occasions I haven't been careful, well, those were all in Germany. So
He has a German child, y'all.
I might. I sincerely doubt it, but I might. But so what got you into paganism then?
I'm not really sure. I think it was probably just the fact that it wasn't as pushy. You know, like yeah, it was a religion, but it was so much more about spirituality and like yourself and discovering yourself and being kind to others and treating all life as sacred, not just lives that you think are important. um and there was just a lot more balance there, like they don't proselytize, they don't try to shove their shit down anyone else's throat. It's very like hippie in that way, like they just kind of live and let live, man, type of mentality. And I definitely like that. That definitely drew me to it a lot. That and the idea that that I was magical in some way, and that I too could do magic. I just had to hone my skill. um yeah, it was appealing. And the spiritual side, I still think, like, even as an atheist, I still think the ritual and the spiritual side, I still think is quite beautiful. And I still love it for just like the beauty that it has.
All right. So actually, I'm kind of wondering if you can get more specific about the version of paganism you followed, because it's a pretty broad brush.
Yeah, it is broad, and mine was very broad. I was eclectic pagan, so I took the traditions from everywhere.
All right. So kind of just like sort of a weird mishmash amalgamation of basically everything.
Yeah. I mean, like, there were Roman gods and there were Greek gods and there were, I mean, like, we kind of took, we had pantheon from all over that we just kind of stuck together. And yeah, it wasn't really one cohesive uh, order, so to speak.
So a lot of room for contradiction.
Yeah, yeah, but also a lot of room to, I don't know. When I was a kid, I used to always say that I was going to make my own religion. And interestingly enough, that's almost, not quite, but almost what I did. Because paganism actually does have a really big space that allows for just that. Like, you can, as long as you're adhering to very basic principles, do no harm, etc. type things, you can believe whatever the fuck you want and however the fuck you want. So it does leave a lot of room for your own interpretation and even your own making up of things.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for example, have you ever seen the movie The Craft?
If I have, it's been a pretty long time. So
It has Bev Campbell in it. Oh my god. Okay, so The Craft. This is one of my favorite movies, and I watch it every single Halloween. But I mean, I'll watch it anytime, but I always watch it around Halloween too. It's a great movie. But in The Craft, the god that they are worshiping is Menna. Now, interestingly enough, and some people debate this, but it's been proven false, so it's not a debatable topic. But there is no such thing as Menna. The the director and the writer got together. They actually made this up by themselves. And I forget off the top of my head where the name came from. It came from something very specific, having to do with the director. So he chose that name for a reason, but it is not a god. It has never been a god. However, after the releasing of that movie, you can now, when you go into your bookstores and you look up different because I have a shitload of encyclopedias of like gods and demons and demigods and shit like that. So now when you go to buy a book on a list of gods or demigods or whatever, Mano is in there, even though it's totally fictitious. And the first time that we ever heard it was in The Craft.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, the closest thing I have to a Halloween movie tradition is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. So you're a lot closer to the actual mark.
I watched The Craft and The Crow.
The Crow's a great movie.
Yes. Yes, it is. I always wanted to get married on Halloween.
Well,
Halloween is dope. It is my most sacred day.
yeah, for a lot of American women, it seems to be.
That's not okay. My ex was a man, and it was his sacred day too. So,
Well, I mean, so you said you had to reconvert to paganism. What did you do how did you reconvert the first time, and then what'd you do in between?
it was just a choice that I made because I was a child whenever I decided I was pagan. So yeah, it was just something I did after I turned 18. Whenever you convert to paganism, there's typically a ritual that you do, and exactly 1 year and 1 day after you perform that ritual, you do it again, and that is what solidifies your conversion. In my case, I never did the 1 year and 1 day thing back when I was a minor. I waited until I was 18. And on the anniversary of when I converted way back then, I waited, however many years and a day. So anyway.
All right. So, okay, you've reconverted to paganism. You do that thing for how many years were you?
Oh gosh. I don't know. Letting go of that was a process because, I still called myself pagan as recently as 3, 4 years ago. I was still calling myself pagan. So yeah, it took me a long time to just lose the label completely.
So were you just trying to hold on to the label or the actual belief system?
The belief system, I still had some shred of something, like I said earlier, surely there's something, right? Maybe not necessarily the way that I'm thinking about it, or maybe not necessarily in a way that interacts with humankind, but just something like the universe. That was a thing that I believed for a long time. I thought that the universe was God, essentially. um that when we died, our souls just literally became part of the universe. like this intangible thing. Have you ever seen Voyager?
Are you talking Star Trek or
Yeah, Star Trek Voyager.
no?
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
much. I'm more of a Star Wars person.
Okay. What about the Next Generation? You seen the Next Generation?
That's the one with Jean-Luc Picard, right?
Yeah.
I've seen about the first half of the first season.
My God.
I
Okay.
have seen the original series all the way through, so I've got that going for me.
Goodness gracious. Well, the best way I can explain it is what's a good one? Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the best representation is actually from the Enterprise, which I love the Enterprise. Archer is like, oh, fuck yes, Captain. Anyway, he gets shit done and he's hot. Anyway, and for all of you Kirk lovers, I'm sorry, but no, Kirk would be kicked out. Okay, no. Anyway, Kirk had problems. Like it wasn't even like a sci-fi adventure. It was, what alien species will Captain Kirk fuck this week? Like that was literally what it was. Ah. But anyway, but no, on the Enterprise, the show, there's an episode where they run into these entities that have no corporeal form. They call them wisps. And you just kind of see like a wisp of air, and it takes over different different members' bodies. And while this thing is possessing their body, their consciousness is elsewhere. Their consciousness is going where the wisps come from. And they kind of, whenever they return to their body, they explain it as like just like seeing everything all at once. Like their best memories, their worst memories, things they wished would have happened, different universes, like the past, the present, the future, all rolled into one, right?
Mhm.
And so it's interesting, but that to me had like it definitely relates back to like what I used to believe in terms of like the afterlife. Like it wasn't so much about, oh, your soul goes to heaven or it goes to hell, because I never believed in hell. Not even when I was Christian, I never believed in hell. Heaven was always kind of like a kind of thing. Like to me, sucking up to some dude and like kissing ass for all of eternity just doesn't sound like that much fun. Kind of sounds like hell, actually.
Oh, let's not kink shame. Someone could like kissing ass like that.
True, very true. Which, you know, if that's your king, then I mean, hell yeah, that's dope. But you know, when you did not give consent for it, and God's like, you must bow and kiss my ass anyway, like God's a prick. So
I mean, I might go further to that and say that God's kind of rapey.
yeah,
But, I mean, literally,
he
he
likes them young.
impregnated a 13-year-old girl. Let's be
He
real.
likes them young.
You know, yeah. Now that we go through that.
Yeah. So no, what I always kind of thought of the afterlife as just kind of being something more along those lines of just like your consciousness lives on somehow. Like, you know, you're just not in your body, and you're not necessarily, you know, like reincarnation. Maybe it's a thing, maybe it's not. I don't know. But, you know, you just kind of become part of the world, so to speak. Like the atmosphere. I don't know.
Or possibly incorporeally traveling the universe.
Yep.
I mean, that'd be a pretty cool afterlife, honestly.
Right? It would. That would be dope. I'd be down.
But yeah, the most relevant thing to the whole God discussion I can think of from Star Trek, I think, is when Kirk said, "What need does God have a starship?"
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, Kirk.
I mean, some of what he did actually was, like, okay, so I kind of think because it was the 60s when Star Trek was
Oh,
made,
yeah.
certain cultural taboos.
Yeah.
I think all the times that Kirk was getting with all these alien peoples was to work up to the episode where
The black actress.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name for the life of me, but I remember that her name on the show was Lieutenant Uhura.
Yeah.
And that was seen as groundbreaking because you just did not put white people and black people together on TV like that back then.
Yeah.
So I kind of think in their subconscious that might have been part of the goal, was to be like, okay, it's not actually weird to see someone who looks a certain way with someone who looks a different way.
Yeah. I agree. Plus, I mean, I do give it, leeway for the time it was made. In the time it was made, it was the sexual revolution. Everybody was like, "Wee!" We don't know about AIDS yet, so let's smash
Free
condoms.
love, don't use condoms. Actually, do use condoms, by the way,
Right.
kid. Unless you want a kid.
Condoms.
Then don't wear a condom, but otherwise wear condoms. They're good for more.
Condoms are not the best birth control. Like, it's great for STIs, but yeah, if you're trying to prevent like the birth of a child, yeah, definitely use something with your condom. Just saying.
Yeah, a little bit of mix and match.
The pill, an IUD, like spermicide, something. Use something with your condom.
Now, I can't think of the name of the movie, but now I've got it in my head. The Michael Cera and Jonah Hill, when they were both real young, they're like, oh, "Thank you for bringing the spermicidal lube." I don't know how that. I don't know. Well, I know how it got in my head. I don't know why my brain was like, "Oh, this thing." Got a really weird stream of consciousness mind. It just goes places.
That's okay. Mine does too. Sorry.
It makes being serious very difficult for me.
Right? This is why I'm not, like, I tell everyone I don't take myself too seriously, because I mean, how can I? My mind was born, raised, and continues to live in the gutter. I mean, it's how it is,
I mean, that's totally fair. I mean, why else would you make BDSM content? Kidding.
Because I like it.
I mean, it definitely has its fun points. Don't start something you're not prepared to finish.
Do I need to put a collar on you?
Yes, mistress. But I mean,
that could be an interesting Patreon video.
Link to my Patreon in description.
Link to Tom's Bub.
But taking the control back on my channel a little bit. What is it that got you to start making videos on your channel?
Well, it's something I've wanted to do for years, actually. I just kind of got sidetracked. So yeah, I just kind of got sidetracked. At first it was, I did not realize that I had camera shyness. That was interesting. I was like, wait, what? How am I camera shy? Like, because I mean, my grandmother raised me with literally a camera in my face. So it was very strange. But I decided that the way that I would get over my camera shyness was to live stream. So I started live streaming on YouNow, and then I eventually moved over to LiveMe, and I still live stream from time to time. I kind of need to get back to it just to say hi to the people that I miss, but yeah, I started streaming, and I actually started making money from live streaming. So you know, why fix something that's not broken? So for a while it was just kind of like floating along, like I'm happy where I'm at type of thing. And then, you know, it was coming back to me like, I would see things on YouTube, or I would see things just in the news, and I'm just like, I wish I could make a video about this. Or like, I wish I had a channel and like I could vent my frustrations about, you know, whatever it was. Um, and also the live streaming platforms that I was using uh, do have, you have a lot of freedom, but you also do have a lot of restrictions, especially around the type of content that I want to make and talk about.
Mhm.
So that's a problem. Which YouTube has them as well. But at least for YouTube, I know a little bit better anyway, you know, like what I can and can't get away with, and the things that I can't get away with, I can easily just put it on Patreon and call it a day.
Yeah.
But it's something that I've wanted to do for years. I don't know. It's hard to explain. There was always something that like fucked it up.
So
So
did it end up kind of being, I want to do this, I put it up off for long enough, screw it, I'm gonna do it?
yeah, that's pretty much exactly how my first video happened. Yeah.
There are much worse reasons to do something than I feel like it. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
actually my personal go-to reason for anyone curious about why I'm going off camera. But yeah, while I'm opening up this thing, do you have any specific goals for your channel, or like just, you know?
To be myself, to be my awkward, weird, creepy, crazy self. That's pretty much it. I see a lot of fake, and I see a lot of people getting used to the fake, and it's annoying, and I don't like it. So I've always been good at, you know, taking a hammer to the status quo. So I figured, why not do it on YouTube? Well, it's kind of like reality TV, right? Like yeah, you had like the real world, blah blah blah, whatever. But reality TV didn't actually start like it didn't like go where it is now until Survivor, right? Like Survivor hit, and everybody was just like, "Oh my god, it's all the craze!" Like, and everyone wanted a slice of that pie. So then, before you knew it, the Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel, every fucking channel on earth had a reality TV show. But it wasn't actually reality, it was still scripted. And as a society, in a weird way, because we're human and we're odd, we see a scripted version of life that we wish was real, but it's not real. And people cling to it as though that is a legitimate representation of reality. I guess because they want it to be so. And so, you know, that's what we do. And people have done the same thing we did to reality television, we've done to YouTube. Like people downplay so much the amount of work that goes into other people's videos. Like the people who edit their videos, the people who script their videos, the people who put a lot of time and research and effort into their shit. People just kind of assume that if they have a one-on-one chat with you, you're just going to start rattling off all of these factoids, 100 miles an hour off the top of your head. And for most people, it doesn't actually work like that. Like they sound like that because they just researched it and they scripted something. So yeah, I don't script anything. I don't have anything against people who do. I don't work well with a script. I'm much better when I just kind of run my mouth. I just am. So yeah.
I'm one of those people that has to script, otherwise I'm gonna have so much editing to do, because so much of whatever video is just gonna be me trying to recall whatever fact and be like,
oh well, I definitely make like bullet points, because I always go off on tangents, as you can see. Like I'm always going in different directions, so I definitely keep bullet points so that I can, okay, I spent 10 minutes talking about tree sap. Now I'm going to go back to my original point.
yeah, that's enough about the Gettysburg Address. Let's get back to the bullwhip.
Yep.
Oh.
Enough about self-flagellation and the monks. Good Lord.
Well, real quick, speaking of self-flagellation, is that one of your kinks? I mean, you did say on your tweet that we might learn about your darkest season secrets.
I did. I guess you could say, like, technically, yeah. I definitely have a fondness for self-play. That's for sure.
Let's see, what's Purple got here? Aside from my live streams, I spend days writing.
I've had it on private chat this whole time. I'm sorry, guys. I love you.
Whoops. For those of you that have never used StreamYard, there's a private chat that's just between me and Silver, which we haven't been using because I touched my computer. And then there's live chat that gets imported over from YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, spend days writing a script and tend to record a dozen takes before I get enough good pieces to. Yeah, I get that.
Together. Well, it seems to work for you, Purple, because I love your, Purple's videos that he's done are very well done. I like them. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like the Juneteenth one because I feel like not enough Americans understand or even fucking know about it, which is maddening. So yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I definitely enjoy your videos. Like, live streams can sometimes be a bit much because, they usually go on for at least an hour. So rewatch value, I think, on those is on the low side.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be like that, Perp. I've been ignoring the whole chat the whole time. Kidding. I actually have been reading. If you see me awkwardly looking to the side like this, that's because I'm reading the chat.
Oh, I love you, Purple.
But yeah, no, I definitely enjoy your videos.
Oh, thank you.
Like some of your reviews are stuff that I probably wouldn't be terribly into. But I don't know. It's interesting to get a look into some of the different toys you can use in kink.
A different world. Yeah, I have a lot of I've gotten a lot of feedback from a lot of like 100% vanilla people that have told me that, they enjoy it just like because they want to hear something different and they like to see something different and it's different.
So they're basically bored with missionary.
I don't think that was their point.
No, I'm kidding either way.
Well,
But
you never know.
yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with missionary if that's really all you're into, but I don't know.
I'm going to say that, like, King blows sex out of the water any day of the week anyway, so just saying.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't had an orgasm until you've had an orgasm that had nothing to do with your genitals.
I can't say I've ever experienced that.
I have. It's pretty dope. Okay, question. Have you ever been able to make yourself come without touching yourself?
Never tried.
You should. You should definitely try. It's a challenge and it's worth it.
I I don't know if YouTube would allow the video to stay up if we discussed this, on an actual live stream. But after I end the stream, we can talk about that a little bit. But I do have another curiosity. Is there anything you've done on your channel or any of the live streams that you're particularly proud of?
That's a good question. Actually, yeah. It's actually been a while, but I will say two things actually, because one is recent. I would say one of my prouder moments was I had like a sex ed type of thing, and I had a lot of people in that live stream, which was surprising, but it got a lot of attention, and I had a lot of people write me after it was over, and even like days, weeks, months, a year after, telling me that they learned more about sex in that stream than they'd ever learned it anywhere else in their life.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that was pretty interesting. Scares me a little bit when it comes to, like the public school system and
Oh, it's bad.
like what they've been taught.
It's bad.
Yeah. I know it's bad. But like because when I was growing up, we had like abstinence only. So yeah. But yeah, so I was definitely proud of that. And then I would say actually the two things that you've been there for, the collab and then the live stream that we both did together on consent. I'm pretty proud of those.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
The consent video that you helped me with on my channel is actually doing really well. I think it's actually my most watched video in like a short term amount of time that I've had in a couple of months. So apparently people are really interested in learning about good consent. So
Well, that's good to hear because they definitely need to.
and a good 3/4 of the credit goes to you because you get 3/4 of the screen time and actually a little bit north of 3/4 of the time actually explaining because I had to start and end the video. Yeah. And basically all I said is no means no. Yeah. You did the more nuanced, kinky bits. But yeah. And by bits I mean large swath of video. But yeah, I'm actually really proud of how each of those turned out as well. I would imagine we're gonna have to do a part 2 to Consent over on your channel, because for the last half hour or so we were talking about sci-fi.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. It's just, after an hour, you kind of start to fatigue on a topic. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it
You
makes
do.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, it did tie back together because, like, we talked about sci-fi, but we also talked about consent violations within sci-fi.
Yeah. I'm surprised Captain Kirk didn't come up a few times, because
Right.
during the original run of the show,
He was a little rapey. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
there were definitely numerous times when Kirk was like, "I hear you saying no. I feel you pushing me away, but I want you to say yes." So to me, you're saying yes, and that's crossing a line, Captain. Now I'm gonna get Scottish people pissed off at me. It's okay.
I like it. I don't think I'm gonna get pissed at you. If anything, they'll just laugh.
Well, I mean, anyone that doesn't know that I was mimicking Scotty, whose nickname is a little on the nose, by the way,
It is.
has never tried watching the original series. So
Yeah. I haven't seen it in it's been a long time. But I did make myself, like, as an adult, like, force myself, sit down, and, like, I watched it twice. And I was just like, I can't. Like, I can't with the TOS. I can't. Like, anyway, those of you that love the original series, I love you. You're awesome. But, like, it's just, your sci-fi is not my sci-fi, and that's okay.
oh, it's almost like you can replace the word kink in the phrase "your kink is not my kink" with basically anything, and it works.
Right.
It's almost like you should just let people live and let live.
Exactly.
Unless they're being harmful bags of dicks, then absolutely don't let them just live and live. But,
Right. I think that that's definitely something else that probably kept me tied to the pagan community for so long, was that, as I said before, like, they don't proselytize, they don't shove their shit down your throat, and they very much do just live and let live. Just, be yourself, enjoy life. So, yeah.
mm.
And I totally agree. The side chat. I really need glasses, like, so bad. Head cynic. There we go. Sorry, my eyes suck. I couldn't agree more that we need more understanding about consent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even as adults, we think we got it. Most of us don't.
No, because I mean, I'm sure you remember, because you were actually at the premiere of my video when it went live yesterday, Friday. You know, we actually had a class on this when I got to Germany. No does not mean more shots.
Yeah.
You don't get someone drunk until they either pass out or say yes, and you don't pressure someone until they say yes.
And
And
that's insane that that's something that you would have to. I mean, I'm glad they did. Don't get me wrong. That's good that they did that. But it it tells you something about the state of the world that they need to. Like,
yeah,
that that's the thing.
well, I mean, like, okay, so I kind of hate saying this because I was in this military, but the military has a pretty bad culture around that. There's a lot of rape and sexual assault issues in the military.
Oh yeah.
It's a disturbing issue when you consider what the military is designed to do. It's deeply disturbing.
Yeah.
So
I have a
yeah,
lot of
it's a good thing that class
in
exists.
my family, and the stories I have heard. Woo,
Yeah,
it's
and
definitely an interesting culture on its own.
like,
Like it definitely has its own distinct culture. Like that could be an entirely separate live stream and altogether.
oh yeah, it took me a good 3 or 4 years to break out of the military mindset, and I was only in for 2. So
Yeah.
that can tell you something about how deeply ingrained it gets.
Yeah.
And Head Cynic actually puts it perfectly. That's acquiescing. It's not consent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I do have one last question for you. Um, I get the feeling that it's not really going to apply possibly at all to paganism, but maybe more, your Christian experience as one when you were. What is or was the most difficult thing to get over from religion?
Ah. There wasn't a whole lot when it came to religion that I really clung to, but I will say there there definitely 100% is a comfort that comes in belief of, knowing that, not knowing, but believing that you're going to see your loved ones again, the people that have died or that are dying or whatever. So, yeah, coming to terms with the fact that, like, that's not a thing. And, once someone is gone, they're gone. Yeah, it's hard to deal with.
Now, is that something you still deal with, or
Hmm.
okay?
Yeah. I mean, I think even recently I told someone regarding like the grieving process that, depending on what day you ask me, I kind of have a different answer. Like some days I do comfort myself in that way where I'm just like, oh, well, like anything could happen, right? Like we don't know until we're dead. Like we don't know until we know. So maybe I will see them again. And then there's other days where I'm just like, yeah, right. No. So it just depends on what day of the week you ask me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. Like I said at the beginning, I like to start and finish the lives or these interviews all the same way. So, could you tell us again about yourself and your channel?
Sure. My channel is Silver Layna. Right there. Whee! Oh, right. There we go. Sorry. I like being stupid. Anyway, but yeah, my channel's name is Silver Layna, and I I really enjoy discussing kink and BDSM, and we will be getting into other things. I promise. I have a lot of political opinions, and I'm definitely I'm a sucker when it comes to psychology and philosophy. I love them. So yeah, that will be a thing. And then we got politics with all the crazy going on. So yeah, the that will be something I'll be getting into. But a lot of my content is definitely going to still stay focused on kink and BDSM. Eventually, I might make 2 channels to kind of split the two, but right now, I see no reason to do so. So yeah, we'll be kinking it up while talking about politics and philosophy.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me.
Thank you for having me.
And everybody, you will be able to find links to Silver's Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram down in the description. I say that with a little bit of hopefulness because I know StreamYard isn't always terribly cooperative, but if it isn't down there right now, it will be very soon because I'll be putting it down there myself if I have to. So definitely head over to her channel and subscribe. Like she said, she did live stream last week talking about kinky consent, and coming up tomorrow, right? We're talking about our BDSM.org test scores. I say scores, it's, not so much a score, so much as, hey, this is how we think you are sexually. But yeah, so definitely head over to her channel if for whatever weird reason you haven't yet, and subscribe, follow her on Twitter. She is a lovely person and a lot of fun to talk to. So
yes, be my sub. God damn it.
Yep. Head over to her channel, sub to her, and ring the bell.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't resist. I had to make the joke again. I'm easily amused. I'll admit.
It was so funny when I heard it in the video. I'm like, oh my God.
I thought I executed it pretty well.
You did. You did. It was right on the money.
Oh. All right, everyone. That is going to do it for this one. Definitely make sure you subscribe to Silver. Subscribe to me if you haven't for some reason. I'm pretty sure all of you have, but if not, definitely do.
Yeah, the Bob.
Yeah, and I also have a Patreon. Silver, do you have Patreon or? Oh no, you said it isn't live yet. That's right. Yeah, so let me know when it does go live, and I'll link that down below as well. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one, everyone. Take it easy, and see you in the next one.
Bye, guys. Mwah.